I'm going to give you the top 7 habits that are going to help you go from being broke to becoming a millionaire. And even if you're not broke right now and you're doing pretty good, this is going to help you scale your success tremendously. And by the way, we're not going to be going over generic advice like stop drinking or stop watching Netflix. You can go hear that from everybody. I'm going to give you 7 things that you probably haven't heard before that are going to make a drastic impact in your life, especially when it comes to making money. So, habit number 1 is that you have to master sequencing. What this means is you've got to be able to prioritize every single day what is the most important task to accomplish. I mean, if you just look at everyone's life, we all have different problems. We all have different tasks we got to do. You might have this massive task list if you're organized, or if you're somebody who's unorganized, you have even no idea what you're supposed to be doing today. You just kind of like let the wind blow you wherever it goes, and then that's what you're doing. Well, the best and most successful people in the world have this ability to do what I call sequencing. They can look at a list of 10 different problems and properly say, hey, I need to do this one first, this one second, this one third, and they actually don't even worry about the rest of them. They just go and accomplish those top 3, and then after that, they look at, okay, what's next? And then they can properly evaluate what are the next ones to accomplish. You see, people who aren't successful look at an entire set of problems, and what they do is they either, number 1, get really overwhelmed. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe there's so much going on. I'm never going to be able to start a business because I need to get a website, and I got to come up with a brand name, and I got to get a logo, and then I got to, if they want to get into real estate investing like me, they're like, oh, well, now I got to talk to sellers, and what do I say? I don't know how a contract goes. I don't know this. And then they never start because, yeah, all those things you do have to learn. You do have to know. Don't get me wrong. It's not like they aren't problems. It's just, how do you know which one to do first? That is the key to success, because no matter what you do in business, no matter what you do in life, even though you might have a certain level of success, it just creates the next problem. If you're trying to make your first $100,000, there's going to be different problems that come along the way. You're going to have to actually go out and start the business, like I said. And then all of a sudden you start doing deals. You start getting some house flips. You start getting some wholesales. Maybe you start an online business and you start selling your product. Either way, you're going to have to just take that first initial step, which usually involves you being a solopreneur, hustling, making it happen. But guess what? Once you hit 100,000, you now got new problems. All of a sudden you're like, okay, well, now I got to do more. Crap. I have no more time. Now I got to go hire people. And so all of a sudden, you got to figure out, how do I hire people? How do I pay them? How do I manage them? How do I spend my time training them? There's so many new questions that arise. And then you go and start making $1 million, and that leads to whole new questions. And then if you get to 10 million, there's whole new questions. Here's my point. No matter what stage of business or life you're in, whether you're broke, whether you're a millionaire, a billionaire, we all still have this task list of problems. But the most successful people in the world can take that list and not get overwhelmed. They can say, yeah, this is the list. Okay, out of these 10 things, which one is going to make the biggest impact in my business, in my life right now? And being able to sequence those things properly is going to dictate whether you succeed or not. So I'll give you a big picture example of sequencing, and then I'll explain it in a more daily way. So let's just say you're going to flip a house. Well, there's lots of things that got to happen. You got to find the contractor. You got to, figure out the contracts. You got to go find some money. You got to find the deal. Like, man, there's a lot that's going on here. But if you were to actually do it in the proper order, that's how you become successful. And this is what we always tell our students. I say, okay, well, dude, don't worry about finding contractors today. Don't worry about finding buyers today. None of it matters until you have a deal. In most cases, when you have a deal, money will find you, right? I've never had a problem selling a really good deal. Money always found it, whether I wholesaled it, whether they were the investor and bought the deal with me. Like, it's never been a problem. And I've never not found a contractor when I actually had a property, that I owned that I needed to get fixed up. Weird thing happens is once you own a property, then all of a sudden you're way more urgent to go find a contractor to get it fixed up. So, those problems get solved when steps before it get solved. So I don't need to worry about those steps until I do the steps that actually matter. And so what does matter if I wanted to flip a house? What would be the very first thing that has to happen? Well, the very first thing that has to happen is marketing. I got to decide, where am I going to get in touch with sellers? And so once you figure out marketing, you start talking to sellers, guess what? The next thing that happens is Sales. Okay, I got to learn to negotiate now. I'm actually talking to sellers. Can I negotiate? Do I know how to do the contract? Okay, great. You get a property under contract. Now I can go find the money. Once I find the money, now I can go find the contractor. Once the house is fixed up, now I can go find a realtor. You see, if it happens in sequence, you will be successful flipping a house. But most people never get started because they try to solve every single problem from the beginning, and then they never even figure out how to talk to a seller. They never even get in front of a seller, yet they got all these other random things that they think are good, even though there's stuff that they shouldn't have worried about in the beginning. They should have just worried about getting in front of the seller. So that's a big picture part of how sequencing plays out on a very simple thing like flipping a house. Now, as your life gets more complex and you got more things that are coming into play, like life, my kids got this going on, my business has this going on, my wife is over here, I got this commitment. That also becomes even more difficult with sequencing, and you have to just get good at picking out what is the highest priority for me to do. That's going to happen in everyday life for you. And it'll even happen with, the thing of flipping a house. Okay, today, right? I got to go find a deal. Well, guess what? How do I spend my time? What's the most important thing for me to do? Is the most important thing for me to be looking for contractors, or is the most important thing for me to be talking to sellers? Well, clearly, if you don't have a deal, it's not finding contractors. That's literally irrelevant right now. You got to go find deals. So that's what I tell people. It's like, just focus all your time and energy finding deals. Don't worry about the contractors and all this stuff right now. You need deals. That's way more important. So anyways, that is sequencing in a nutshell. This applies to everything you do. So you've got to learn how to figure out what are the most important things to do. And honestly, the only way you're going to learn that is getting around other successful people in your field who know how to do it. Okay. You're not going to just naturally figure out, oh yeah, I should probably do this better. No, get around somebody who's already doing it at a high level, and you'll start learning to see how they see things. You'll start thinking the way that they think. And that's how sequencing starts to come. It comes from actually knowing the proper order in which to do things. So that's habit number one. Okay. Master sequencing. Second thing you got to master is your schedule. All right. We all have one cap in life. The cap is that we have 24 hours. And if we don't manage the 24 hours correctly, then, our life's not going to be as good as it could have been. It's like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, some of these richest people in the world. It's not like they got more time than us. We all have the same 24 hours. We all have essentially the same opportunities available to us for the most part. And some of you guys might be saying, well, Ryan, they were born in certain families and this and that. For sure. All right. Some people are born a little ahead of others. But the point is, we all have access to a phone, the internet. We all have the ability to learn skills and traits now basically for nothing. Basically we're getting to the point here, I would guess in the near future, in the next 10, 20 years, where almost no one will have an excuse because everyone will have access to the same information, the same resources. And it's just a matter of what do you do with your 24 hours? That's what matters. And so this is why I say the quicker you can learn to master your schedule, the better off you will be. And I'll give you an example, right? It kind of relates to habit number one of like learning to prioritize the order in which to do things. But schedule is even more different in that you've got to figure out from the get-go, hey, like what kind of schedule is going to make me successful, number one, but what kind of schedule also, number two, is going to lead me to longevity. Because I see a lot of people who say, oh, well, I want to work, 70 hours a week or whatever. And, I'm going to be on that grind and I'm going to just do this thing. And dude, I've been in business now since 2010. That was when I first, became a realtor, started flipping houses in 2015, became, full-fledged entrepreneur probably around 2019 when I started other businesses. And I can just tell you, I've seen lots of guys crash and burn doing that. Like, I really don't know that I've met too many people that have sustained 70, 80-hour work weeks and just did it for like decades. I just really haven't seen it. And the reason is all of that always comes at a cost, right? It comes at a cost for your health. Clearly it's stressful. It's draining to work that much, but also a lot of those guys just aren't healthy because they're always working, right? They got high stress levels. Maybe they're not working out. They're overweight. They're not eating right. A lot of things come from that. Usually their relationships aren't very good, which makes sense. A lot of the richest people in the world you've seen are divorced. They're just kind of like always jumping from wife to wife or whatever the case is. So if you love your wife and you love your family, it's probably not like a sustainable model, just looking at it. Faith. A lot of people lack faith who are pursuing money. I mean, the Bible talks about this, right? The love of money is the root of all evil. It doesn't mean that money itself is evil, but when you make money your true love over, God and over your family and everything else, well, yeah, it starts to become a problem. And so I'm all for making money, guys, but I'm all for making money in a way that is going to be honoring to my values and to the things that are most important to me, but also in a way that is going to be longevity. Like, I want to make money all the time without getting burned out and without losing everything else in my life. I mean, this is why I wrote the book Wealthy Way. It was this exact concept of really figuring out a sustainable schedule for your life. And so for me, my schedule is very simple. I've talked about it on the show, but for those of you who haven't seen it, I'll just repeat it real quick. As far as the big picture goes, I don't work on the weekends. I work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. That's it. I get my 40 hours a week in. I leave at 5. I go have dinner with my family, hang out with my kids when I get home. It's great. And then on the weekends, it's family time, it's church time. I love all that. And even before that, I have my morning routine every single day. I spend about 2 hours every single morning, an hour with God and an hour working out. That's how I do it. And it served me well. My family life is great. My faith keeps getting stronger. I'm very healthy. And my business has still been able to continue growing year over year. And so a lot of people say, well, that's not possible. I'm like, well, it is. I mean, I'm living proof it is. And I've been living this way a long time, well before I was rich, well before I had, done all the things I've done to this point. It's got me to this point. That's the argument I'm making. And I'm still running this play. And I choose to believe, and I think it's going to happen, that the next 5 years, the next 10 years are going to be so far greater than anything I've done up to this point combined. I think the next 5 years, even the next 3 maybe, could be more than what I've done up to this point combined. And I don't think it's because, all of a sudden I've gotten smarter or anything else. I think it's just because maybe I've outlasted people. I've been able to weather many storms because of having a schedule that actually leads to longevity and success. And so, I actually did a video talking about my time as a CEO. I did this for our mastermind. So I'll link to it down here below. And I just talk about how I do every single hour in my week. So, if you're somebody trying to figure that out, I think that would be a good video for you. But, long story short, if you can figure out how to properly schedule your life for the things that are actually important to you, the things you say are important to you, then you're going to win. I can look at anybody's schedule and I can say, this is what they prioritize. If I just look at how you spend your hours, if you tell me your family's important, but you spend no time with your family, I just don't believe you. And you can make every justification you want and say, well, I got to work for my family and this and that. It's like, okay, but I understand there are seasons in life, but when it becomes a lifestyle, when it becomes the norm, then I stop believing it. Same thing with faith. Yeah, I love Jesus. Okay, how often do you go to church? How often do you read your Bible? How often do you pray? Well, if you don't do those things, I would question whether or not that's true. Right? The same way we would question anything in life, guys, right? Those two hit hard for people because everybody likes to have this idea that they're being good with their faith or they're being good with their family. But the reality is when you look at their schedule, it's just not true. And with working, it's this thing that I love to work. I'm here, dude, if I could work 60 hours a week, I probably would in terms of being at the office and everything else. But I know it's not healthy for me long-term with everything else. And I actually think I would do worse in work if I did that because I would be burnt out. The rest of my life would not be great. And I think I would be less efficient overall. I think I would probably get the same amount done, but I would just spread it out over 60 hours instead of 40. I think by limiting myself, I actually still get the same amount of work done, just more efficiently. It actually forces me to delegate more and bring on more people and train people and run the business better. I see a lot of solopreneurs and people with small businesses who work really long hours because that's just how they structure it. They're like, look, I got 80 hours to get this stuff done. Therefore, I can do all the work. But if you only had 40, you'd realize, oh, well, we got to get other people involved. But the cool thing is once you start getting other people involved, once you start delegating, once you start building out different processes, that's when your business actually takes off. It will never take off with you just working by yourself for 80 hours. Like you'll just cap out. So getting your schedule right is really, really important. So I would just say with your schedule, make it something that is going to have longevity. Don't do crash diets or crash schedules, as I would call it. Get something that's going to be longevity from the get-go. Number 3, all right, this goes into it, but I think that 30% of your time spent should be on personal development. So for me, you know, I just was talking about this with schedule, but I want to just give you one key piece of your schedule. If 75 or 70% of your time, at least working, is going to be, you know, on work, I think the other 30% of your working time should be on personal development. So here's what I mean. I wake up at about 5:30-ish every day. And you know, I work from 9 to 5 on the weekdays, but from 5:30 to call it 8:30, that's really my personal development time. And personal development is, like I said, it's faith, it's health, it's reading, and growing in that way. And so, you know, for me, it's like, if I look at call it from 6 to 9, that's 3 hours. From 9 to 5 is 8. So there's about 11 hours in a day. And if I'm spending 3 hours out of the 11 on personal development in the morning, and then I do some stuff at night too with reading books and everything else, I mean, I'm spending about 30% of my time on personal development every day. How many other people can say the same? Like, if you really look at your life, are you spending 30% of your time working on yourself, getting closer to God, working on your body, getting better health, and educating yourself? I mean, I've been doing that for like the last 8 to 10 years. And I just feel like it's having this compound effect in my life where, you know, maybe others have stagnated and they're not learning anymore. You know, maybe they're always like this with their health and their faith. They're, you know, I would say inconsistent. There are times when there are people who are on fire for things, like for getting healthy or for, you know, getting closer to God or for learning, but then it just stalls out. So for me anyways, if I can just keep consistently spending about 30% of what I would call my work time, 6 to 5 each day on personal development, I'm going to win. I just am. So anyways, I talk about this in that video I was referencing that we'll put down below. But yeah, 30% of my time, personal development. I think it's important, guys. Number 4, accountability. You guys need accountability. If you are broke right now, clearly nobody is holding you accountable. And if you're not where you want to be, clearly no one is holding you accountable. Accountability is simply making sure somebody does the things they said they're going to do. The reason I hired somebody to help me with my fitness, even in this season, even though I'm in good shape, I want to go up to a whole new level of shape. And so I said, you know what? I mean, if I was in the shape that I wanted to be, I would already be in it. Clearly, I'm not. I want to go get a 6-pack for the summer. So what am I going to do? Am I going to just all of a sudden figure it out on my own and be that naive that, yeah, for the last year, dude, you haven't had a 6-pack. All of a sudden, you're just going to flip the switch in your brain and do it? Or do I go and get accountability from somebody who has a 6-pack, somebody who knows what it takes, and somebody who's going to actually make sure I do it? I think my odds are going to be way more getting that guy. And guess what? You know, for me, it's not a lot of money, but, you know, I know this might be a lot for some people. You know, I'm spending $500 a month to do that. You know, I'm paying $500 a month. The way I look at it is the next 3 months, if I just am held accountable, I could have a 6-pack in the next 90 days. The cost is going to be $1,500 of accountability. That's it. Now, I know that there's going to be cost in terms of me working out, the food I eat, all that stuff. So yeah, there's cost on that front. But the financial cost, the way I see it, is I'm going to spend $1,500 to basically guarantee that this happens. Because I know I'll put the work in as long as I got somebody holding me accountable. And I'm a pretty accountable guy on my own. I would say I'm more accountable than most people, just self-accountability. So if I'm saying, man, for this to be guaranteed, I'm going to just get another level of accountability. I think you would need it too, right? That's my point. If I think I need it, then you probably need it too. I have accountability when it comes to faith. So, we got a Bible study every single Wednesday. We've had this for years. 7:30 a.m. Wednesday morning. The accountability is I actually lead it. And so if I don't show up, then there ain't no Bible study and everyone's like, what the heck? So for me, it's actually kind of like reverse accountability where I am the leader, therefore I need to show up. So that's another form of accountability. You could go hire somebody to make sure they hold you accountable, or you could put yourself in a situation where you have to be accountable because everyone else depends on you. So highly recommend accountability for that. I also think, when you're doing things like business and everything else, right? You might be watching this video right now and you're like, dude, I need other people who think like me. I need other people who are trying to go through this together. Cause man, I'm struggling. Man, it's tough trying to go, let's talk about real estate. It's tough being in real estate and making these offers and everyone's saying no. It's tough when, I'm feeling down and, I've been trying this for a while now and it's just not working out. It's tough when I don't really know what to do. I got something that looks like a deal, but I don't know what to do. Well, now you need community. Now you need a mentor, right? If that's you, I can help you on the real estate side. That's what we do. Wealthyinvestor.com for those of you who want to get into real estate and you want that accountability and mentorship. But, a lot of times being a part of a community that's actually doing the thing you want to do is going to help. And let me be clear about this. All right. What I'm not saying is get a part of a social club where everybody has an interest in this thing. Okay. Because there's plenty of real estate meetups and real estate communities where, yeah, we love real estate, but none of us do anything. But boy, do we like talking about it. Boy, do we like hanging out and talking about real estate that none of us do. That's not what you want, all right? You want to be somewhere where people actually do things who are going to hold you accountable to doing those things. That's like why, at Wealthy Investor, we have accountability coaches, people who are actually doing things that hold you accountable. I ain't here to be everyone's friend in Wealthy Investor. I just hate to break it to you. If we can be friends, that's great. But I care more about getting you a result than I care about being your friend and making you feel good. Okay? So be in a place where they're going to be driven by trying to get results, not driven by just being buddies and hanging out and liking real estate. All right? So accountability is so important as a habit. Number 5, focus on one skill. This is the biggest thing I see in the internet world today is so many people have shiny object syndrome, right? You'll try something for a little bit. You're like, dude, I tried doing sales. It sucked. The leads sucked. This sucked. I'm going to try the next thing. Can't possibly be me, right? So I'm going to try the next thing. It's got to be the industry. It cracks me up when I'll do an event and somebody will be like, dude, I tried wholesaling before. It doesn't work. And I'll be like, no, wholesaling works. You just don't work. Okay. Whatever you were doing was wrong. It's not that wholesaling doesn't work. Something you didn't work. Okay. Another example I see this in is faith. People be like, dude, all Christians are bad. What about that pastor that did this? When I was growing up, this happened to me. I'm like, okay, not all Christians are bad. Okay. Those 2 Christians were bad. They were bad examples for sure, but it doesn't make the rest of Christians bad. Right. So, we got to stop this association of, man, just because it didn't work this one time in 1 week, it doesn't work, or even 1 month or 3 months. You got to focus on one skill. Clearly, if you see people flip houses, it works. If you're not having success, it means it doesn't work. You got to start taking accountability and say, well, there's something I'm doing wrong. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong, by the way, with trying new things, but you've got to at least finish the trial of the thing before you try a whole different thing. And so that means focusing and committing. You know, when I first got on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, 2020, I decided I was going to do content and I was going to go really hard at it. And my mindset was, I am going to commit to this for at least 2 years. That's what I told myself. I'm going to commit to this for at least 2 years. I don't care what the results are. I know that this content thing can produce massive rewards and change my life and change other people's lives. I know it can do that. I've seen it do it for other people. But I just don't know how long it's going to take for me to actually get good at this because I just don't know. I've never done it. I haven't been successful at it. So, you know, we're going to try. And, you know, it ended up working out pretty quickly for me, thankfully. But my point is, I had the right mindset going into it. And so most people just honestly don't have a long enough time frame to commit to it. Or the other problem is they're trying 4 different things at once. So I'll meet these hustlers and they'll be like, Ryan, you know, you've got so many different businesses, man. I want to be just like you. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm thinking about starting content. And I'm thinking about doing this. And I'm like, well, dude, you suck at all of them right now. All right, let's get good at one thing first. Let's not try to be crappy at all things. Well, but like, I want to, you know, I want to build the foundation. I'm like, no, let's build one foundation. Let's get one house built before you worry about 2. And for me anyways, okay, I'm 35 years old now. If I was to break my life into chunks, I could tell you I only focused on one thing for pretty much like all chunks of my life. And then the cool thing is once you learn one skill, it kind of just stays with you. So for example, the first, 25 years of my life, all I cared about was playing baseball. And so I just focused on being a great baseball player. I didn't care about entrepreneurship, didn't care about real estate. You know, I just only focused on baseball. And I got to be a professional, got to get drafted, got to do lots of things. But you know, that season of my life ended and I had to learn to be good at a new thing. And guess what? From 25 to say 30 years old, all I cared about was flipping houses. That was it. A lot of people were like, Ryan, what about commercial real estate? What about buying rentals? What about this thing and that thing? I'm like, dude, all I want to do is just become great at flipping houses. And the only way I'm going to become great at that is by just flipping houses and focusing on that. And guess what? Over the next 5 years, I flipped hundreds of homes. And then from there, you know, that spawned the next set of things. 2020 comes around. So, you know, I'm like 30 years old, 31 years old. And COVID happens. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to do this social media thing. So I go all in on social media. And guess what? It's not like I stopped house flipping. I had built this skill that I now had. And I would be able to use this skill forever because I had built a team and everything else over the 5 years. So I said, hey, for me doing social media now, it's not like I'm going to lose my income. I can now focus on this because I focused on that for 5 years. And if I wanted to go pick up a baseball or go grab a bat, I didn't just forget how to do any of that. I spent 25 years of my life doing that. So I'm pretty sure I could go pick one up and go play and go dominate some fools in the men's league if I wanted to. But nonetheless, skills happen with intense focus. And in most cases, once you master it, it just never goes away. Yeah, you'll be rusty. I'll be rusty when I go pick up that ball. I'm not saying my arm is going to feel great throwing it, but it's not like I forgot how to do it. It's like riding a bike, literally. So, you know, from, let's just say the next 3 years, I really focus all in on social media. And that's it. I'm like, I got to get good at podcasting. I got to get good at short form content. I got to like really learn this social media game. And we did great. And then the next couple of years, all I focused on was building a great, education company. Hey, how do we throw better events? How do we get students results? You know, how do we make this even better? Oh, we'll start adding lead generation. We'll get them leads for them. Oh, we'll start building softwares out for them so their lives will be way easier. Like the last 2 years, that's really all I've been focused on was just getting education better. And that's continued to be my focus to this point. Just continuing to make Wealthy Investor as good as it could possibly be so that our students get results and changing the business model and, you know, all this different stuff. So kind of my point is, it's like, if you looked at all my business skills one skill was being a baseball player. I thought that was going to be my business. The next was being a real estate investor, specifically flipping houses. I've always maintained that skill the last 10 years. The next was social media. I don't honestly focus that much on social media anymore. Yeah, I mean, I'm making content like this right now, but I mean, I would sit there literally for like 30 hours a week, like taking in all the information I could about social media, practicing, doing new takes, learning, all this stuff. Now I spend like 6 hours a week. Like I really don't put much effort into it because I'm like, dude, yeah, I want to grow. Don't get me wrong, but it's not my focus anymore to go get, 1 million subscribers tomorrow. If it was a goal and it was that important to me, I think I could do it if I just put the time and focus, but it's just not that important anymore. I'm good with what it is right now. And so, I don't put focus there. And then I say, okay, well, let's make Wealthy Investors good as it can be. And so I spend way more time over there now, just working on lots of different things so that our students can have success. And I don't know how long that's going to last, but I know that once it's, kind of reached the point where I feel like it's in amazing shape and it's like right where I want it to be and we're at the level of growth and students are having the level of success, then I'm certain God will reveal whatever the next thing is for me. And it could be building up our nonprofit at Wealthy Kingdom. Maybe it'll involve me playing golf. Like, I don't know. But right now, none of those things are priority. These are the skills I'm trying to learn. And so all I can say to this is too many people have shiny object syndrome and they're either quitting too soon or they're doing too many things at once. Pick one and stay with it for a long period of time. And then once you've mastered it, move on to another skill. Okay, I'm not saying you got to just do real estate the rest of your life and that's it. I don't want to do that. I think that'd be boring. I like being multidimensional and being good at lots of things. But you know what? It took focusing on each of those things for many years before I decided that I was going to go learn a new skill. That's the difference. Habit number 6 is think in stairs. So I don't know if anyone's ever called it this, but a lot of people I know, they just like kind of try to skip to the end of the book. So if you're watching this and you're broke, okay, the title kind of like, I guess, led to this, but your idea shouldn't be, oh man, how do I go from broke to millionaire? So the title was just to attract people because that's how normal people think. Okay, if you're broke, literally zero, the objective should not be to become a millionaire. The objective should be, hey, how do I make $1,000? Like that's the first step of the stair. That's why I said, think in stairs. What is the first stair to conquer? That is what you got to do. Because, man, I think just a lot of times what happens is people get discouraged because, man, why am I not a millionaire yet? So-and-so's a millionaire. I saw this other guy. And so, well, guess what? People on social media are the outliers. And they might be outright liars. They're either outliers or outright liars. It's not true. So, I like to think in terms of what's the next step. And this goes back to even sequencing, right? Like being able to choose what's the proper thing to prioritize. But thinking in stairs is more about like goal setting. Like have the proper goal. Like I get that the big vision is, hey, I want to be a millionaire one day, but let's make $1,000. How can we get a win and make $1,000 today? And so you start thinking in that way and your mind can comprehend how to make $1,000. And so, you go down a path and boom, you make $1,000. Well, okay, cool. How do we make 10,000 now? Let your mind think, okay, how can we go about making 10,000? How quickly can we do it? Do we just probably do more of what we just did to make 1,000? I mean, that's probably the answer in most cases. Cool. Well, let's just do more of that. And so you make 10,000. And then the next one becomes, okay, how do we make 100,000? Let's go about that. And then the next one becomes, okay, how do we make 1 million? Right? That's how you end up getting to making $1 million. It doesn't just go from broke to 1 million. You got to stair step your way there because each step requires different skills and different things to focus on. For me, and I even think about this daily, by the way. Okay. So let's just say my goal is to do $1 million this month. Okay. We've had many $1 million months in our business in, the last bunch of years. Well, the way you get to $1 million month is by making about $34,000 a day in revenue. That's how you make $1 million in a month. And so you know what? Instead of thinking, man, how do I get to $1 million? I can just think of today. Hey, did we make $34,000 today? It's very simple. Did we hit our goal or not? And I can tell you, if we consistently hit our goal of making at least $34,000 a day, by the end of the 30 days, we're going to be at $1 million mathematically. It's impossible that we're not. But if we're consistently not hitting it, well, guess what? We're probably not going to hit our goal. And maybe we got to readjust that goal. But the point is, you got to look at it from just a daily basis of, hey, for me to hit my goal, what needs to happen today? If my goal is to make $1,000 in the next week, let's just say, what needs to happen today to make $1,000 at the end of this week? Maybe you're go flipping couches, right? That's what got me famous on YouTube. Go Google flipping couches if you haven't heard that one. But, if you wanted to go and get to $1,000 today or, a week from now, I would suggest, okay, well, what do I got to do? All right, I'll start flipping couches. Where do I learn? Go watch Ryan's YouTube video. It's literally 15 minutes long. You could go flip a couch today, right after that video, and make $500 today. It's crazy, but literally that's possible. That's like, you could do it right now if you're broke. And then all of a sudden, okay, all right, well, I'm going to try it. You go find a couch. You buy it. You do everything it says. You list it. Okay. Tomorrow, you sell it. You make $300. You're like, great, $300 towards the goal. Well, if I just buy 2 to 3 more couches, I should get there. So guess what? Your objective today should be to buy 2 to 3 couches. Like if I could buy all 3 of them today, let's go. Right? Maybe you don't buy 3 today. Maybe you only get 1. Guess what? Tomorrow, I'm going to buy 2. And maybe you do buy 2. Next day, okay, got to sell these things. Do everything impossible to get them sold. Post them on every marketplace, right? This is how you start taking a big idea and synthesizing it into a daily action, a daily goal. I have daily goals every day. Could be revenue-based, could be health-based. If I'm trying to get in shape, guess what? The next 90 days, I said I want to get a 6-pack. Okay, am I hitting my daily goals? Did I get my workout in? Did I skip cardio? I can't skip cardio if I want to do this. The main thing is, for me anyways, tracking my food and tracking my macros. All right, got to track my macros. Did I hold myself accountable? My coach is going to see if I didn't track my macros, and I'm going to get yelled at, so I don't want to do that. And you know what? I can tell you this, if I ate all my macros the right way, if I got my workouts in, I'm pretty much guaranteed to be where I want to be in 90 days. Like, it's almost a guarantee. It's math. Like, a lot of life is honestly just math, guys. How much time you put into something, how you budget your food intake, how you budget your business, how much revenue you bring in on a daily basis. That's what leads to success. And so this is what thinking in stairs is. It's like, look, we all got big goals in life and business, but man, what's the thing today I got to do to make it happen? That's how you're going to figure out how to become successful. And then the last one, this one is so important. Habit number 7 is probably my favorite, but it's you got to embrace failure. Okay. So many people never start anything because they're so scared to fail. And I'm here to tell you, I have failed more than probably 99.9% of people listening to this. And I have failed in a public way. I've had companies that have failed. I've ruined my reputation on things that didn't work out. I've been in lawsuits. I've had real estate investments go south, lost me millions of dollars. I have literally failed in almost every way you can imagine. And yet, here I am. I'm still here. I've learned from it. Not doing stupid things again. Try to avoid all the dumb things I've done and only do the good things I've done. And that's it. That's all you can do. And guess what? I'm going to try new things throughout my life that also fail and cause probably the same consequences. They make me look really dumb publicly. They lose millions. They get me into lawsuits. And, I could go into every single one of them with a good intent and it just doesn't work out. Guess what? You don't know what you don't know. The only way you find out is by trying. And the way you find out it doesn't work is when you fail. And you know what happens? When you fail enough, you also end up winning a few things. You actually fail more than you win in almost everything that I've seen. But the thing is, you could fail 9 times, but the one thing that hits, and it just crushes. And that's the one thing that ends up being what you're known for. That's the thing that changes your family's trajectory. That's the thing that changes your entire life. That's the thing that makes you all the money. You hear about this with entrepreneurs. Started 9 businesses, they all failed, but the 10th one succeeded, right? You cannot be afraid to fail. We tell this to real estate investors all the time. 99% of your offers won't work out. But guess what? The 1% that do makes you a lot of money. Get into the mindset of failing. And I'm thankful that I played baseball because, you know, you're literally an all-star if you fail 7 out of 10 times in getting a hit. So failure for me, it was just always ingrained in my mind. It's just an okay thing. I understand I'm going to fail. And being a professional baseball player, I would fail publicly for all to see. So I'm used to it. It doesn't bother me when I fail publicly online or in a business. But most people obviously don't come up with that upbringing. And so learning to deal with failure and criticism and people talking about you is a very difficult thing. But I'm here to tell you it is okay to fail. I'm here to give you permission that it's okay. I don't think you will out-fail me. And I'm pretty successful and happy with where my life is at. And so you have permission to fail. And that's it. So anyways, follow those 7 habits. They're going to help you level up in life. They're going to help you go from being broke to making that 1,000, 10,000, the 100,000, the million, and whatever else happens after that. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.